It is 7 o'clock on the East Coast. It is 4 o'clock on the West Coast. It is the 26th of April in the year of our Lord 2020. Season 10, episode 27. 523 times this voice or this face has welcomed you to the Clubhouse Podcast. We are so glad you're here, no matter how you're doing it. If you're streaming on Vocal Now Live right now, we're happy that you're here. If you're watching us on the YouTube archive or on the Vocal archive, we're happy you're here as well. You're all members of the Empire, and we love each and every one of you collectively and individually. Welcome. My name is Rob. I am the executive producer of the Clubhouse Podcast, and it is official. This is the most hair I have had in 25 years. We are now to the point, I'm going to turn my head so you can see it. It's now getting wispy. I dare not try to grow the mullet from the early 90s because my hairline is retreating. It's not receding. We have not reached Michael Bolton hair cape levels yet, but we will keep you updated. I am not alone. Joining me is my co-host and a man debuting a new shirt that does not show up on camera very well, but if you could see it, you would be impressed. He is Alex. Hey, man.
Well, I think this is actually going to be a good teaser because I will be rocking this shirt when we get back into the studio.
And you're welcome.
You're
still coming through pretty distorted. I don't know what's going on there.
How about now?
It's still, let's say it again.
How about now?
It's still distorted. I don't know what's going on.
That's weird. It's probably the internet connection or Zoom or something that goes along with it.
It could be.
Am I understandable, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Also with us is the official fact checker of Sooner Gator Productions and a man who knows his Buckies, and that's another reason we can't wait till we can all be out and about because we all miss Buckies. You may know him as Igbunu, but his mama named him Don Ford. I'm going to call him Don Ford. Hey, brother.
Hey, Bucky's is an essential business.
But social distancing is not a thing at Bucky's. Let's just be honest. It's big enough to do it, but people ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Also joining us tonight, Jen Rome's still out on assignment. We hope that she can be back with us soon. She's working a lot of hours, and we need her to get her rest. But we do have the lady of the house chair covered tonight by one of my favorite humans in the entire world. We have known each other longer than I have known Don and Alex combined. So you can do that math. She is so special to me because she actually put up with my shenanigans for 3.5 days straight recently by putting me in her home before the cruise happened. She is, their words cannot express how much I love this woman. Heather Fogleman joins us live from Boynton Beach, Florida. How are you, friend?
I'm doing well, but I don't know how long, we've known each other because I'm only 20, so I don't know how that's going to work out.
Well, it could have been like a previous life. You were reincarnated. Total time served is fine. It works out.
Total.
No updates or corrections from last week. We hope you enjoyed last week's episode. In case you guys don't know what we're titling the other show this week, it will be called Don Really Hates Subtitles.
Not Don Hates Reading?
Well, Don doesn't hate reading. He just hates subtitles.
Yeah.
That's different. So let's get into just some quick sports talk. I have 2 words to start this off. Gronk. What is it with my teams getting rid of people that I don't like and then winding up with other teams that I do?
Anything goes in Florida?
Oh, my Buccaneers were my NFC team. They pick up Gronk for the 1 year, $10 million he had left on his contract. I'm told that the Barnhill Fazekas household has jerseys on the way. For those of you that don't know, Alex's lady friend is a huge New England Patriots fan, and now 2 of its biggest stars.
Technically, she's a huge Brady fan, so.
Well, she likes Gronk too.
That is also fair, but that still applies in the same regard.
So now she has to root for one of my teams, and that just makes me happy.
No. She doesn't have to. She's choosing to.
Oh, no, she will.
She's choosing to.
And then I heard this morning, Jameis Winston apparently to sign a 1-year deal with the Saints.
Yes. Interestingly enough, not only did they sign Jameis Winston, but Taysom Hill also got an extension for 2 years. So I believe this is going to be the same as the Bridgewater deal. If
He's no Teddy Bridgewater. Let's put this out there. That man is no Teddy Bridgewater.
No, he's more physically talented with a 5-cent head.
Disagree.
Well, one of us is more educated in this, but at the same time, but at the same time, this is going to be Sean Payton trying to see if he can find a younger quarterback who can learn his system and possibly stick around when Drew Brees is, 100.
And they don't have Publix. Let's just go on to talk about your baseball team, sir.
Possibly, I'm putting that fandom up for auction soon.
For those of you that don't know, Alex has a very personal connection to the Mets organization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to go into that, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but we can say that you have a personal connection to them.
I've been around the team since, I want to say, I was 4. So my grandparents worked for the Mets in the spring training facility, have been around the team for a number of years. Allegedly tried to send a woman of the night to David Wright's hotel room that he paid and declined, which was disappointing.
You babysat Patrick Mahomes.
That's allegedly. What's that?
You babysat Patrick Mahomes once?
I wouldn't say babysat. I was more so just the one there that said, hey, look at this.
You were the babysitter by default.
Well, I don't know if I was capable of that, but sure, we'll go with that.
You're not.
So does that mean I get to take credit for part of this?
You could.
Where's my Super Bowl ring?
I give you credit. But apparently, Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez are in a bid to buy the Mets.
That happens. I literally will put my fandom up on eBay.
Don, would you like to sing the song?
Beat the Mets, hate the Mets. It's close. I don't know. It's not my song.
In the words of Will Smith from Bad Boys, you gotta learn the words, man.
Meet the Mets, greet the Mets, come on out and beat the Mets.
Beat the Mets. Okay.
All right. Oh, it's bad enough I'm not going to get to see my Braves. I need you to get the song right, because now we know like the likelihood of the Braves coming to town the night before my birthday is now not going to happen. And I'm very upset about this. And it was Whataburger night. And by the way, Heather, when you come to visit, this is one of the first things we're doing is we're getting you Whataburger.
I know. I can't wait.
I
really can't wait.
It hurts my soul that you don't have Whataburger down. The closest you got is Tallahassee, and I don't want you going anywhere near that town.
There's one in Jacksonville now.
I am not going to Jacksonville.
Speaking of which, I don't know if I showed you guys, but friend of the show, Maddie Marr, who I adore, she is Phil and Shannon's youngest. She had masks made for me, and I want to show them to you. Is it upside down?
No, you had it right side up.
Look at that. I got 3 different masks, and they have Gator logos on them. Because Maddie's the best. That's right. I said it. Let's go to some interesting ratings this week. We had both the WNBA draft and the NFL draft. The WNBA draft had its largest television audience in the history of ever.
Because what else was happening?
But you know what? I'm surprised that they did their draft, because wouldn't their season be in jeopardy too with all of this? Because their season goes June to August.
Right, but at this time, there's nothing else going on. Why wouldn't they do their draft now and say, hey, you know what? Other sports aren't happening, but come check us out.
But you know what? That young lady that went first in the draft, I'm going to watch her. Yes, I know she's
very
amazing.
Talented.
And she's a team player, which I love about her. She's got that whole, I've got point totals, but I've got assist totals and everything else. So I'm good with that. The NFL draft this week drew its largest television audience since 2012.
I thought they said it was their highest ever, but
that was last I heard. There may have been an update, but last I heard it was the highest since 2012. This was as of midday yesterday. So they may not
either way. It was actually the best draft I've ever seen, and you know me, I usually watch it every year.
Oh, I'm not a big fan of the draft, but I will say, getting the alerts on my phone, gotta be honest, I'm excited for my Dolphins.
Oh, they did so well.
My comment was, I have this feeling, and I don't know how to describe it, but I think it's called hope, which the city of Miami has not had in general in about 20 years.
Cue the Dolphin Denny chorus.
Oh, Dolphin Denny, I miss him.
But yeah, no, the 3 teams that stood out to me, and I hate saying at least one of these, the Dolphins did great, the Jets did great, the Cowboys did great. Cowboys. I hate them.
On any thoughts on your Steelers?
Well,
Heather
we
also
only
a fan of
had
the Steelers. She is a Seahawks fan first and foremost, but she has love for the Steelers as well.
Well, he didn't even have a first-round draft pick, so I mean,
but would you rather have a first-round draft pick or Minkah Fitzpatrick?
True. Okay, so
you're welcome.
I take that personally.
I think getting the wide receiver and the running back for the first 2 picks that we got in the second and third round, for what we had and what was available, I think they did good, and I think they'll help. We're losing Bell and Brown and everything else, so I think they're trying to put in what they're missing.
So we're gonna have to. I just this is the most sports we've been able to talk in a month, which is
So
pretty
happy.
sad. But I'm
So
just ready.
happy.
I'm ready for us to get the wheels on this thing. Bring me
Absolutely.
football, because if I don't have football, I might lose my mind. What's left of it. I know, Alex, I know you haven't seen this yet, but I want to talk about this just a little bit. Last Sunday night, ESPN and The Deuce simultaneously, which I thought was weird. Why one didn't do it and the other one on delay, but whatever. They aired the first 2 episodes of The Last Dance. This is the story of the 97-98 Bulls. And I'm specific about that wording because what we all thought going in when we first saw these commercials, didn't they show the first commercials during the Super Bowl? Was that the first time we saw those commercials?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I think that's accurate. But
It was supposed to start in June, right around the NBA Finals.
Yes. That I do know.
They moved it up. This is not about Jordan, which is the craziest part of this. And for each episode, Jalen and Jacoby, which is an ESPN radio show, they're doing a quick 30-minute podcast on the 30 for 30 podcast feed for each episode where they're like, Jalen talks about his time in basketball because he played during that time and he played against Jordan. And then they also bring on the director of the series. They're still editing the last 2 episodes. That's
they weren't planning on being out this early
now.
So.
Yeah, because they weren't ready for it. But they're bringing him on to talk about it. And what he said is basically, and I didn't even know this, the reason we have so much footage is that last season, they signed off on a camera crew to follow them around the entire season. So that's where we're getting all of this footage from. And because they knew this was it. This was going to be the end of that dynasty because of everything going on. And the way they're doing the story, the first episode was the Jordan story. The second episode turns into the Pippen story. The third episode tonight is going to be the Rodman story. So what they're doing is they're starting to tell the story of the season. But what the director said was, he's like, look, we got to a point where we get to somebody, and I was like, but this guy's story is fascinating too. So they're going back and they're telling, they're about to get to the point where Rodman gets involved. So then they're going to go back and tell his backstory leading up to it. I am finding this series fascinating. And the lovely and talented Mrs. Irvin actually watched it with me last week, and she was actually interested, which was shocking to me because she's not a sports person.
Well, did you hear the report that this may not be the only season?
I hope not. If they can keep this kind of momentum and this kind of quality, I'm telling you, dude, don't binge this. Go get caught up. Don't wait for this to end and watch the whole thing. I'm telling you.
The aspect is that apparently the same deal was made with Kobe for his last season.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's the report that's coming out now, that they had the same access.
I'm telling you, don't binge this. Go back, watch the first 2 episodes, get caught up tonight. Because
let's be honest, you just want me to catch up so that we can talk about it.
Well, that is part of it, because that's part. I don't know, because maybe we have a show that talks sports. I'm just saying.
But there ain't much else going on.
But I wouldn't tell you this if it wasn't good.
Oh, no. I fully anticipate it, but the other aspect was, and maybe because I want the unfiltered version, I have been recording the TV MA versions.
Oh, no, they did that during the live ones. The premieres. There were F-bombs all over the place last week, and I watched the very first showing of it.
Okay. So my catch-up on the DVR was recording. Maybe it had conflicts or something for other people in the household.
But it wasn't recording until like 11 at night. It is so good. And the director was even saying a lot of people were concerned because Michael had full input on this.
Oh, absolutely.
He goes, and let me tell you something. Michael Jordan, he completely signs off on being this vulnerable. He could have easily said, I don't want this. I don't want this. He at no point said that. He actually was the one, and I don't want to ruin it because I don't want you to get there, but there's a whole section towards the end of episode 2 dealing with Scottie Pippen as it deals with what ended up happening with him with the Bulls going into that season.
I've seen some teases on this. So.
The trade?
Yep.
Michael was the one that said, I need that in there. That piece of the story has to be there, which I thought was that was a ballsy move in my opinion. And he's allowing it, which I think if you know anything about Michael Jordan, that's not the norm for him.
Well, I find it interesting because what actually teased it for me was with the Jalen and Jacoby. One of the blockbuster trades that didn't happen involved picks that were going to be Jalen Rose.
Jalen Rose. All right, so let's get into some TV headlines since we're talking TV. Let's go ahead and talk TV. Last night, SNL was at home again after running a rerun. This week will also be a rerun. They're rerunning the Daniel Craig with The Weeknd. That's actually a really good episode. If you haven't seen it, I very much enjoyed that. So last night we were at home again. Definitely, it was a great episode, but they definitely have worked out some of the technical kinks from the first one. I don't know how much you guys have read about it, Heather. I know you saw at least one segment of this because you posted about it on Facebook earlier today.
Yeah.
The opening segment was Brad Pitt playing Dr. Fauci. And he did a bit at the end of it where he took the wig off and took the glasses off and was just him thanking all of our essential workers and all of our healthcare professionals who we cannot thank enough for everything we do. You know, I try to keep the stir crazy talk to a minimum because I know there are people out there that are literally putting their lives on the line every day, and we can't thank them enough for that. Heather being one of them, she works in a dentist's office, and they say there ain't no pain like tooth pain. And if people couldn't go see their dentists, good Lord.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of emergencies, actually. So, you know, they call it, but we have to see them. So anybody has an emergency down here, we're open.
Well, tell them who you are.
Okay. Well, we're Palm Beach Dentistry in Delray Beach, and look us up. And if you need anything, we are here for you. I mean, we're going to be seeing patients soon, but we're here for emergencies. So,
Dr. Moncrief is an amazing woman. She is wonderful. I got to meet her briefly when I was down there, and I hope to see her again when I come down I'm coming next summer. I mean, that's the latest I'm coming is next summer. Because I'm not afraid to say, next year is my 30-year high school reunion. So they get better as you get older, though. There's just something because you just kind of get to a point where you're like, you know what? I don't have to show anybody anything. Well, we can have that whole conversation later down the road of the 10 versus the 20 versus the 25 versus the 30. But I thought it's amazing how much work that they can get done where nobody's in the same room, sometimes even in the same area code. You can tell from SNL who's been there a while when you look at A.D. Bryan's apartment versus Kenan Thompson's house. I'm just saying, Pete Davidson's literally does live in his mother's basement, and we've seen that the last two episodes. People thought that was a bit. No, I think he pays for it, but he lives in a fully furnished basement. Great. I love that picture of Tony Soprano he has on the wall. He had a collab last night with Adam Sandler.
That was awesome.
Which is great. Really good. And you want to talk about feeling old, seeing Adam Sandler's kids. I was like, do we have Geritol in the house? Because I'm going to need some of that and some Metamucil, and let's just get this done. What else happened? Miley Cyrus was your musical guest doing a cover of Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here, where she was sitting next to what turned into a very smoky fire pit, and a 12-string guitarist, which you put a 12-string guitar in just about anything, you automatically have my attention. Because I love the sound of a good 12-string guitar. I would venture to say I think she lip-synced it because it sounded a little overproduced. And plus,
possibility.
There was never any audio from the fire pit.
That's true. I was hoping that she didn't, but you might be right.
And plus with the smoke covers the screen, and then all of a sudden it was a little overproduced for me. But that microphone she used is one that's on my wish list. It's the Bose one that we had in the studio there for a minute, Alex, that I was using. That's what she used last night.
Yeah, your mic, not mine, right? The
one I was
larger conic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I thought she did a good job. I love that song. So 2 episodes in a row, like Chris Martin doing the old Paul Simon song. It was great 2 weeks ago. Weekend updates. Michael Che, kind of more back on his game. If you don't know, in the last episode, he was dealing with the death of his grandmother who had died from complications, and he ended up paying the rent for like 160 people the following week. So shout out to Michael Che. I think my biggest question from last night is, where is Scarlett Johansson? Because, Jost said she wasn't there. And if you're engaged to Scarlett Johansson and you're on quarantine, you want Scarlett Johansson at the house. I'm just saying.
I believe that's not even quarantine. You just want that nearby.
Well, I mean, that's a fair point. I will give you, yep. That's a fair point. But, I mean, she's not out there promoting Black Widow because we don't know what's going on there yet.
Yeah.
Thursday night, if you are a fan, and I don't know if, Heather, if you and I talked about this, are you a Parks and Rec fan?
Sorry about the dog.
No, we love the dog.
Actually, no, I haven't started it yet, but I've heard I need to. So
my problem was when it debuted, it was The Office was still on, and it was just way too similar.
Yeah.
But apparently, go ahead, Alex.
The interesting thing is I started with Parks and Rec before I ever saw The Office. I see where the parallel is, but it's really good. I very much enjoyed it.
Well, this Thursday night at 8:30 Eastern, NBC is going to be doing a table read with the Parks and Rec cast, doing kind of basically a Zoom episode of Parks and Rec with the original cast, and what they're saying are special guests. They're not revealing who yet. As long as we get Chris Pratt, I'm good.
I need my Nick Offerman.
Oh well, Nick, you're gonna get
Nick Offerman's number one. Yeah.
You're gonna get Ron Swanson. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, I still just the real heart to that is the fact that Chris Pratt was only supposed to be on 1 or 2 episodes and was so likable they just made him a regular for the entirety of the series.
You can put that dude in anything, and I'm good.
We'll see.
Tonight is the next to the last episode for season 3 of Westworld. It is absolutely bending my brain this season. A friend of the show, Brad Zabel, texted me yesterday a theory that just made it worse for me. But it has been renewed for season 4. So
is it worse than season 2 because you did have the same brain bending response?
I feel like what they're doing is they're like, how much farther out can we go
before everybody shuts down?
Yeah. There is a moment, and I don't want to ruin it because it's a brilliant moment. And if you haven't had this spoiled for you, I won't do it. There is a moment, I want to say it's in episode either 3 or 4, that absolutely shut me down. And that's all I'm willing to say. That it's a moment that kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's about that quick. But when you notice it, you can't not see it. And it's kind of, there's kind of a cool story behind it. If you want to ask me off air, I'll tell you what happens. Thanks to somebody on this particular Zoom call that brought something to my attention earlier this week, and we don't want to mention any names, but her initials are Heather Fogleman. Apple TV Plus has all of Fraggle Rock right now.
Yes, it does. But they're doing it like a Zoom call. Like they're all zoomed in. It's really interesting.
The Fraggles themselves are?
Yes, the Fraggles themselves are.
This wins. This I'm in. I'm all in now. Really my $5 a month, totally worth it now.
It's really cool. It's really, really cool. I think you're gonna enjoy it.
Back in the 80s when it was on HBO, I watched it all the time.
It was on HBO.
Yeah, it was originally on HBO.
Well, remember, this is before I was even coherent. So.
No, you were. Oh, okay. Yeah, the tail end of it, you might have been. But I can't believe you have never watched it at all.
It's years away.
I don't know why. With all due respect to the people on this call, I don't know why I would.
Because you're a red-blooded American,
and that doesn't tell me anything but your opinion.
You're a communist if you don't.
That doesn't change anything to me. Communism works on paper.
On paper, yeah. But they're doing the reboot too, which I'm very excited about. We have another Star Wars story this week. Mm-hmm. As we know, a week from tomorrow. A week from tomorrow, Disney Plus will be debuting the 6-part documentary series on the making of The Mandalorian, which I cannot absolutely wait for. But now they've said Leslie Headland, who created the Netflix series Russian Doll with the Natasha Lyonne, she is going to be getting a Disney Plus Star Wars series that will be female-centric. That's all we know at this point. So Disney is doubling down on a lot of this stuff, and I'm completely on board as long as they can keep the quality up, because I've also heard that this season of Clone Wars is absolutely off the charts.
Do you think that there might be crossover between the two series? Because then I have an idea.
I'm on board if that's the case. I don't know if they've gone to concept with it yet, but they've just said that she's been given a series.
Well, but what I'm thinking is because there is the report of the so beloved character that has been cast with a major talent for the season 2 of The Mandalorian. I wonder if there is something into that.
Don't want to say names that her name rhymes with Rosario Dawson?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm on board.
I'm trying to be as loose, even though we have blatantly said it on prior episodes.
We've talked about this on this show, yeah.
But my problem with that is like we have blatantly said it on the show, but I don't know if I was okay with that being blasted out, even though I already knew it. But
that's why I asked you before if you knew, and you said yes. So I was like, all right, let's roll with it. And we do our countdown. We did do a spoiler alert. Yes, we did. And also, season 3 of The Mandalorian is actually already in pre-production.
Good. The more of The Mandalorian we can get, the better.
But again, as long as we can keep the quality up.
That is also true.
And as long as I get Kevin. Kevin's my dude. Let's see.
I think you'd have to qualify little dude at this point.
I don't know. We don't know how much time's going to pass. We don't know how people of that species age. Because he's
very slowly.
50. He's already 50. So, just saying. If you remember a few years ago, TNT had a show called Leverage that had the Timothy Hutton in it.
Mm-hmm.
IMDb TV is rebooting it with Noah Wyle, not him.
Interesting.
I thought my wife was into the show. She was like, no, I never watched it.
That's always one of those, hey, I have some great news. Don't care.
Yeah. Nice. And then I got...
Yeah.
Am I denying that is... Am I saying that's a rare occasion in this house? I am not.
Yeah.
All right. Fans of Better Call Saul announced this week. Season 6 may arrive next year, and it will be the final season for Better Call Saul.
I honestly thought this season was going to be a final season.
You're getting season 6, sir.
So, as you said, as long as the quality stays up, because the other interesting part about that was how many seasons of Breaking Bad, which was what spurned this, did we get?
You would know better than I. I've only watched... The only Breaking Bad I've ever watched was when I was at your house and it was on.
Well,
I know how
my favorite shows of all time.
I know how it ends. It was kind of like Lost. I knew how it ended in the first episode, so I was good.
Yeah. Well, but it was only 5 seasons, so the spinoff getting more seasons was kind of bizarre.
That may be a list we do one night. Season spinoffs that lasted longer than the shows they spun off from.
That might be a short list.
You might be surprised.
I probably would be.
I would probably be surprised because I don't know.
Yeah.
Netflix has landed a deal with Pokemon. They're going to have exclusive access to premiere new episodes. Get ready for this, starting with the new season 23.
Yeah. I know people who will be ecstatic about that. I'm not one of those people.
There's one person specifically as related to this show that we think will.
Correct.
The fact that show's been on for almost a quarter of a century is a little shocking for me.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if that's actually an accurate statement with the quarter of a century, because don't they run the double seasons in Japan?
I don't know.
I want to say that they run a 2 seasons a year, but I could be wrong.
Though. That's still a lot. More than I thought. Speaking of stuff of seasons and things like that, things from Japan, I have started my new film project as of yesterday. I am now going through the Star Trek films. Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Wow, that's a thing. Man, that's a thing.
When did that come out?
1979.
I barely remember when that
40
came out.
years ago, Don.
Oh, we're getting old.
I mean, I crossed that bridge a long time ago.
I am 48.
And I said this in my post on Facebook last night. It was like they went, you remember 2001? We can make that more palatable to people by putting Star Trek in it. That was a rough watch, man. And that thing's 2 hours and 10 minutes long. But in between, because you guys know I can't binge things like that, I have to do a palate cleanser, which is where we're going with this. I'm rewatching Cowboy Bebop. And I'm loving it just as much. It is one of my favorite anime series of all time. I have the Blu-rays. And friend of the show, Leslie, is going to let me borrow the movie because the movie takes place between, but they don't call them episodes, they call them sessions. So the movie takes place between session 22 and 23. So when I get to that point, I'm going to get the movie from her so I can put it right in the timeline.
Interesting.
It's a really great show.
That was the one you were talking about that was super expensive online, correct? Yeah,
it's like $30 for it used.
Jeez.
And I was like, But you know what? I did find for $5 used online. That's on its way here.
My ex.
See, this is where we need Don's drop. This is where we need Don's drop.
Well, I think
man.
I think the reactions of the rest of the panel disagree with your Don's drop.
That caused me physical pain. I just
go on. What's on the way for $5? Okay.
The Blu-ray of Say Anything.
Oh, very nice. Special edition or no?
$5 on Movie Trading Company. $15 on Amazon. So
I have a quick experiment. So I've been trying to explain this movie that I absolutely loved. That was the first foreign movie that I really enjoyed because I wasn't a subtitle guy as well.
Is it your favorite foreign movie?
Probably.
That was for Heather. That wasn't for you.
Okay.
It's a lyric from it. It's just Steely Dan song.
Okay. Does anybody remember Brotherhood of the Wolf?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Try finding dope, dude.
Try finding a digital copy of it. Try finding it on Amazon. Try finding it on Apple TV. Try finding it on Netflix. Try finding it on Hulu. It is nowhere.
There may be some rights issues with that because that movie, I mean, that had a decent theatrical run to it.
Yes, it did. But the thing is like, I had people in my house doubting that this movie existed.
I will co-sign that, and they believe me more than they believe you. So,
but what I'm saying, that's not saying much. But but what I'm saying is there was literally no footprint. I couldn't even find it existing on anything, and it was like,
you can find it on the MDib.
That's what I wound up having to go to prove that it existed. But at the same time, it was one of those where I was searching for it by English language. I was searching for it by French. I was searching for it by whatever, smoke signal. I couldn't find anything. Can
I tell you my wig out moment of the week? A friend of mine was watching The Godfather, and I mentioned the Godfather epic to him. And for those of you that don't know what the Godfather epic is, it is when they made The Godfather so it could be watched on television. What they did is it was originally called The Novel Made for TV because they actually filmed extra scenes to make up for some of the stuff they would have had to cut to show it on regular television. So what they did is they took Godfather and Godfather 2, combined them, and recut it so it's in sequential order. So it starts with Vito as a child and then goes all the way through to the end of Godfather 2. It's 7.5 hours long.
Starts with the De Niro shots and ends with...
Well, even before De Niro comes into it, when Vito was a kid.
That's a fair point. But what I'm talking about is that time frame, right? That throwback. And
HBO Go actually had it on their app for a while. And so we had a bunch of people come over to the house on a Saturday. No, it's not there. Believe me.
I said I wish they did.
Oh, had a bunch of people come over to Saturday and we powered through it. So I just did a Google search on it. And Amazon Prime Video has a listing for it, and I freaked out. But they're saying, due to rights, we can't use it. I'm like, don't even put a listing up. Don't even get me there, dude. Because if that was happening, it would be on a hard drive somewhere in this house right now. And I've had people like, well, I've got it. I'm like, no, you have it in 720p. I'm not getting that because it's done in 1080i, and it looks gorgeous. The wedding scene alone in high definition is breathtaking. As you lead up to one of the greatest speeches in the history of cinema. You come to me this day in friendship. I'm going to tell you something. I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, they have it. And they're like, oh, dude, don't even tell me you have it. Don't even give me a listing. IMDb doesn't have a list for it. Because they know what it would do to my soul. Reset. Okay. Also, in other Netflix news, if you're a fan of The Last Airbender, all 3 seasons of that will be on Netflix on May 15th. Because you can't call it Avatar because of Thunder Smurfs. Stupid James Cameron.
You hate that.
I think the Avatar problem has more to do, or in this realm, has more to do with M. Night Shyamalan.
No, because his movie wasn't called Avatar. It was called The Last Airbender. Because of Thunder Smurfs. Because Thunder Smurfs came out right before it.
Yeah.
James Cameron gets a pass because of T2, but I will not ignore Stupid Boat Movie and Thunder Smurfs. I won't do it. I will always hold him accountable for those 2 films.
Aliens.
It's just kind of like Joel Schumacher. I have to hold Joel Schumacher accountable for 2 Batman movies, but this is the man that wrote and directed St. Elmo's Fire. So I have to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
But he ruined the Batman franchise for the better part of a decade. TV on DVD and Blu-ray this week, the final and complete series for Arrow. Available this week. I'm 2 seasons behind, and very excited about this. And if it was Blu-ray, there might be a purchase here. The complete series of Underdog available this week.
Okay, that one has my attention.
Available this week on Tuesday.
Underdog, he rocks.
I used to have one of those little golden books that was an Underdog, and I don't know what happened to it. So,
you know what'll really have me bring me back Hong Kong Phooey. That's what
he is the number one super
guy around.
Wow, Don, you just ruined something I held dear.
Oh God!
What?
Hey, check this out.
No, you are not diverting this. You are not diverting this.
Actually, it's some Gator beverage.
For those of you that. Oh, sweet baby Jesus lying in the manger. For those of you that may be joining us for the first time, if I can pinpoint one thing that if I had a trivia team and Don was on it, I would ban him from answering questions about, it's song lyrics. And this dates back probably season 3, season 4. And Alex, this was before your time. So allow me to refresh your memory about this story. So I'm telling a story about the song Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum.
Mm-hmm.
I love that song.
Very popular song.
Wonderful song. What does this guy do? And it became the title of the episode? This is what he does.
Oh, boy.
Spirit in the sky, keep on turning. That happened. That happened on this show.
Mashed journey into this.
When you can make the Ginger Ninja speechless, which he did in that moment.
Hey, I'm
not just the lighting why I'm all red right now.
Well, I remember every little thing as if it happened only yesterday. Parked about a lake and there's not another car in sight. I never had a girl.
Hey, Rob, you have the ability to mute him, don't you?
Are you singing Paradise by the Dashboard Light?
That's my karaoke jam.
Yeah, I know that word.
But see, here's the thing. Don knows the story behind Paradise by the Dashboard Light and why that song wears me out. And it ties to Rockable. That 3 people on this call understand that reference.
Oh. Don Ford. Hey, check out my thermos, though. Keep Popcat.
That's not a thermos.
Water bottle.
Rob, you're running this meeting. You can mute him. You have the power.
Oh, cabin fever.
Somewhere in the background, Faith's going, can I have that power? Can I
He just follows him around with a remote like it's Click with Adam Sandler.
A large red button just...
She's in the bedroom with the door closed.
I don't blame her.
Reason! Ay vey. All right, can we get into music talk and just move?
I think we just had music talk, and not accurately.
Oh, Lord, have mercy on my soul.
So anyways, what I was trying to get to with that was there's also a great cover of that before it gets ruined by Dawn, done by Sublime. If you want to go hunting that. That's a great version, yeah.
Yeah, there's a CD that's called Saturday Morning's Greatest Hits that's on. There's also, I can actually pull that up here because I have my other computer up. Give me 1 second here.
Well, if you'd like to get into music talk, I can look up.
I've got it. It's we've got Violent Femmes, who is a favorite of Heather's, doing Eep Orp Ak Ah Ah means I love you. They have that. Dig does Fat Albert. Collective Soul does the Bugaloos. Helmet does Gigantor.
I love it.
Sponge does Go Speed Racer Go. The Toadies are on here doing Ghoulie Get Together. The Murmurs do HR Puffin stuff. Wax does Happy Happy Joy Joy.
Nice.
Sublime Hong Kong Phooey. Face to Face. Some people know who they are. They're kind of an obscure band. They're a Seattle band, aren't they, Heather?
I don't know.
But they do Popeye the Sailor Man. Reverend Horton.
Which group was that?
Face to Face. Reverend Horton Heat does Johnny Quest and Stop That Pigeon.
Nice.
Juliana Hatfield and Tanya Donnelly did a duet for Josie and the Pussycats. Frente does Open Up Your Heart and Let the Sunshine In. Tripping Daisies on here doing Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. The Ramones do Spider-Man. A lot of people have heard that one. Mary Lou Lord and another one of Heather and my personal favorites, Semisonic, got together to do Sugar Sugar. Liz Phair and Material Issue do the Tra La La song, and Butthole Surfers do Underdog.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay, but Face to Face is from L.A.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Thank you, Don.
We want to say congratulations to the Eminem this week. He is celebrating 12 years of sobriety this week.
Great to him.
So, and apparently he is neither confirming nor denying he donated a bunch of food to a local medical facility, and it was mom's spaghetti. That's an actual story. That happened.
Hey, home cooked food for those people? I'd take it. Hey,
okay, stop.
Don, no more.
Eminem giving somebody something called mom's spaghetti is a reference to one of his songs.
Lose Yourself.
Called Lose Yourself. It was nominated for an Oscar.
Okay.
Did it win?
Where he says he vomits mom's spaghetti.
Well,
okay.
Vomit on his sweater already.
Mom's spaghetti. Yes. The Madonna. She has teamed with Reform Alliance, and they have donated 100,000 masks to jails and prisons. That is one of the big hotbed issues right now, is the outbreak of COVID-19 in our prison system. So congratulations to the Madonna. I as much as I tend to dismiss everything she did after 1994, outside of Die Another Day, we will always give credit on the show where credit is due. And even though she became British in the mid-90s, which we're still trying to all figure out, I think that's an amazing
Guy Ritchie.
thing. Oh, the Guy Ritchie thing probably.
But Guy Ritchie gets a pass forever for me. To follow up on that, Lose Yourself did win the Academy Award, was the first hip-hop song to receive it.
Okay, so It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp came after that then. I thought
Correct.
that was the other way around. Okay.
Yeah, 8 Mile came first, then Hustle and Flow.
I love that movie. Hustle and Flow is
Very
so
good.
Aaron Carter and his girlfriend Melanie Martin are expecting. So you got that going for you.
Whoever they are.
Nice. I do have a question, though, and maybe you guys can help me understand this. Last week, we announced a music new release by the great Willie Nelson. That has now been pushed back to the day after my birthday. My question is, and I'm going to give you guys a list of artists that this pertains to. Dixie Chicks, Lamb of God, Alanis Morissette, Luke Bryan, the 1975, Margot Price, Lady Gaga, Haim, Alicia Keys, Kehlani. These are all artists that are choosing to delay the releases of their albums due to everything that's going on right now. And what I don't understand is why you would do that. Like, I understand that you still want to have promotion for the tours and everything else, but why wouldn't you want, I mean, you have the absolute most captive audience you could absolutely have to release your material to. Why delay it?
I can only think that they make far less money on digital than they do on physical media.
But how many places do you know that are doing physical media anymore?
3.
I mean, the Best Buy CD selection is smaller than this studio right now.
I think it's like you said, it's the ability to promote. There's nothing they can do, and unfortunately, there's a lot of modern music that if they don't have somebody engineering it for them, they sound like a bag of cats getting thrown around.
If I can, really on this one, number one, some people don't have disposable income. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
That's a good point. That is a great point.
Some people, they're unemployed. They can give a rat's rear about this new album coming out, whatever, when it comes to that, or trying to get the rent paid or whatever. Number two is, you want to release and then have the tour set. People, you don't want to even start thinking about planning a tour right now. You don't want to.
No, you're absolutely right on that.
You want to do the tour right after an album release because it's hot. The album, new songs are coming out. The tour helps promote the new album and vice versa. So right now, economically for music, no, it is too tough right now. Let's just be honest.
All right, I'm going to hold on to my counter to that because I want to hear what Heather thought. Because Heather, like she is a lot like me in the fact that she lives, breathes, bleeds. Music is as important to her as it is to me. One of the things that we talk about more often than not is music, and you know, we have put each other in musical challenges on social media, and I want to hear her thoughts.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, you know, the audience, you're right, is a captive audience right now. I still feel maybe you know, releasing at half the cost or something. And I agree with Dawn. I mean, the incomes are not disposable right now, but incomes are being spent on certain things. They're being spent on streaming. They're being spent on, you know, Apple TV Plus, just like you, Rob, you know, but I think that their audience is the most captive as it's ever been right now.
And I think part of my counter to what Don was saying too is I understand that people don't have disposable income. I am one of those people. Heather is one of those people. But we don't live in the time that we lived in the 80s and 90s where I had to go spend $15 for 2 songs. Right. I can spend $2 on 2 songs and just get the songs that I want as singles are being released to help promote, hey, you know, we're going to do this tour. I would be more apt to see somebody, especially somebody like Lady Gaga, who people are dying for this album, release a single here, release a single there. One of the things I've always wanted to do if I ever got to that point is I would say, here's the deal. You can buy this version of the album or this version of the album, and what we're going to do is we're just going to drop a single every 2 to 3 weeks. And if you just pay for the album now, you're going to get them automatically as they download. And I agree that the promotion for a tour is part of the deal. But for me, if I were in the artist's shoes, that by the time I hit that stage, to have my album out long enough that people could literally sing along with every word because all they're going to be doing is sitting at home listening to it anyway, to me, that's a win-win situation, which is where my confusion comes into play. Of people are clamoring for this new material. You know, especially people of those of us that are pop culture ingrained, which is the empire, which is the people on this show, both past, present, and future. You know, Heather and I have actually been talking the last week or so. I'm trying to figure out a way where I can actually do DJ shifts online, where I can go on for 3 or 4 hours and do an actual radio show. And I can play, you know, I got 37,000 tracks in my computer that I can just take and do breaks in between and, you know, not get sued, which would be great. I just think that people are clamoring for something new. And I just don't understand this whole delaying the album thing.
And I think I didn't think of this before until you were saying something where you're talking about dropping a track and dropping a track and having people clamoring for it. People run stuff into the ground. I mean, you have a list of songs you do not want to do for karaoke. Mm-hmm. What happens if you have people that get sick of it? Say you have your greatest album in this time and people have nothing to do but sit at home and listen to either the tracks they bought or the radio, and they wind up playing it so much that they're sick of it by the time you get to the tour and you don't sell tickets.
But that's also revenue for the artist too. Every time that song gets played,
but they're not making nearly as much. I mean, out of $1, how much of that do you think they see?
I don't know.
I want to say it's 15 cents.
I don't know, but if 100 stations play that song once an hour, I'm making $150 an hour.
Assuming that's the deal.
If you are in heavy rotation,
I'm talking about on Apple. I don't think they own their music in that regard.
It depends on the deal that they have. Because number one, did you write it? Because Taylor Swift makes all the money. Lady Gaga makes all the money.
Well, but that's also one. Right. It's only one person. I'm saying there's probably a lot of people in that regard that don't make as much. So they're not saying, you know what, let's release it now. They're going to love me for the next 4 weeks. But by the time we get to trying to sell tickets for a tour, they're like, yeah, I've heard that enough.
I don't know that that's the case personally.
Well, no. That's what one of the joys of this show is. We don't have an answer for that, but there are all these aspects that we cover.
Heather, did you have something you want to say?
Just thinking, you know, that the times when we were growing up, when the music would drop or, you know, whatever, that's all we had was our music to listen to. And, you know, the distractions that have come about in the with the paradigm shift of everything has changed that. But I still feel that special bond to that music when it comes out, and play it over and over and over. Yeah. Heck yeah, I'm gonna be playing it over and over and over and never get tired of it. But I guess I don't know if it's a generation thing or whatever, but I still feel that personal connection to a song. If it drops, I'm gonna be playing it over and over and over and over. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it.
Okay. And we're going to see how this all works out. Again, we talked about this on the show last week and the week before about the bottleneck that's going to be created when all of this stuff starts to reopen. And I just want everybody to be smart. That's my whole thing. Be smart.
But, let me add one thing to the point, though. So let's say they end up getting this album deal where it's $12 or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. For a new album on iTunes, whatever. Okay. Or I could get Netflix for the same amount and get 1 hour of new music, or I could get countless hours of entertainment for me and the family. Which one's more economically smarter at this time?
You want the actual answer to that? The actual answer to that is Spotify.
Yeah.
Because Spotify means I can listen to whatever I want, whenever I want. And I believe that there is such a thing as Netflix tired head. There's only so much, like there's a ton of stuff on Netflix, but the percentage of that stuff that I give a crap about versus Spotify, where I can go, if I didn't have the music collection that I do, Heather and I were actually talking this week. One of my favorite things on Sirius XM right now is the Covers channel. It is mind blowing, but she doesn't have her Sirius XM membership anymore. So I said, there's at least 2 channels on Spotify that you can go to and get the same thing. And it's $5 a month versus the $20 that you're paying for Netflix. I mean, it's almost 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I just don't understand why, if I'm an artist, I want that content out there. I understand I want it to be fresh in somebody's mind, but that's up to me to do the promotion too. Edwin McCain is streaming a concert every Monday night. So to be able to do that with new material and even alternate versions of that new material. But that's just the way I see things. And from a new release standpoint this week, the only thing that I saw that I recognized was a new Kenny Chesney album called Here and Now. The country Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, I know he is.
I know you do because you're a big Jimmy. You may know this. Heather, Don has seen Jimmy Buffett over 30 times.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Have you warned her about the outfits?
No, we haven't talked about. No, Don has retired the outfits, but there is.
I know he has.
Don used to go to Jimmy Buffett concerts dressed as a mermaid.
Nice.
Full on.
Yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That's Don. That's Don Ford.
Yep.
But I do want to talk about, before we get out of music talk, something that has happened this weekend that Heather and I, and unbeknownst to each other, actually were watching at the same moment. Apple TV Plus debuted. Finally, we have waited for over a month since the first trailer dropped for this. It's called Beastie Boys Story. It is a 2-hour documentary. But I also wouldn't call it a documentary. It's more of a 2-man show.
Yeah.
With Ad Rock and Mike D, directed by Spike Jonze, because the Beastie Boys. Where they are basically going through the history of Beastie Boys in 2 hours in a theater in LA with the full movie screen showing clips and pictures and things like that. Oh my God. This is everything. I will defer to you, love. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, there were so many things I didn't realize. I knew about Kate, but then I didn't know how it all ended with Kate, and it just made me love them more. I mean, they defined me as, I was a 10-year-old, 5th grader at the time, and I thought I was cool, but they defined me even more throughout the ages, and I love them even more because of it. And I love I love the tribute they did to MCA. I love everything about what they brought.
And we actually have a Beastie Boys tribute band here in Dallas called Ryman and Steelin' that play all the time. talking to a friend of the show, Devin Pike, yesterday. I talked to him on the phone about it because he actually watched it on Friday. Devin's doing well, by the way, for those of you that have been asking. He's going through his chemo again, but he's going to be okay. He's hosting Universal Remote every Monday night and Thursday night at 9 o'clock Central. He's doing his own version of Remote Control. Go to universalremote.tv. I ended up finishing second on Thursday night, which is perfectly fine by me because it was horror themed, and you guys know how I feel about horror films. He has actually read the book. And Heather, I don't know, did you have the book?
No.
So apparently he said having read the book, there wasn't a lot that surprised him, but he still liked seeing the visual element of it, which I thought was funny. Did you notice there was, and because this is a family show, we can't say it, but there was an animation piece that Spike was messing with them with? First word, crazy.
Yeah, yes.
Did you notice who the voice of that was?
Yeah, and it said who it was at the end, and now I can't remember.
It was Bill Hader.
It was Bill Hader, yes.
Which I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
Hader, yeah. Yes, I saw it at the end, on the end credits.
I liked how I guess maybe the chapters coincided with the chapters in the book, maybe.
They must have, yeah.
But I thought this thing was brilliant. The way it was done, and you can tell how much those two, and especially with MCA, how much those three truly loved each other.
Yeah.
That, I feel like I need to go rent Lost Angels now.
I do too. I want to see that scene again.
I did not know that Ad Rock was in a movie. A very bad movie by the looks of things. But to see that story unfold, and this really isn't a spoiler, if I have one issue with it, they never even touched on, you put License to Ill in its own category because that's a default. My favorite album of theirs outside of License to Ill is To the Five Boroughs. They did not even touch that album, which I was like, that's the one I wanted to hear about. Because with the first time I heard Check It Out, I was done. Like, I was done for the day. That album being what it was, and I've got Hot Sauce Committee Part 1, and that's okay. But to see now, because like when Paul's Boutique came out, I was not a fan. I did not dig Paul's Boutique.
I did not either. I did not like that album at all.
But it's one I think I had to get away from for a few years to appreciate the artistry of it.
And seeing it really made me appreciate it even more. Like seeing how they produced it and they did it all on their own. Like I really love it now. Like I really want to go back and listen to it again.
Well, and the fact that they're still selling Horatio Hornblower as not MCA, I love that. I will tell you right now, even though this has been a very slow year for film for me because reasons, right now, this is my second favorite film of the year. That's how good this movie is. Now, my total films for the year, I'm sitting about 11 or 12, just because we haven't been able to do any screenings. And speaking of which, My Spy actually hit VOD this weekend. So go check that out with the Batista. But Beastie Boys Story, we were supposed to get a release in IMAX before all of this happened. I really hope that happens again. I will tell you, Alex, be aware that at the end of the credits, there is the logo for Dolby Atmos and Dolby Cinema.
That's a very vague statement.
Means they have actually recorded it in those formats.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, we had talked about it before when we were just talking about the aspects as a generalization between IMAX and regular theater and Dolby. Anything that is music related or action related should be required by law to record in Dolby.
Well, I remember the first thing I watched in Dolby Cinema, and Heather has physical evidence of this somewhere. I sent the girls those headbands from Kubo and the Two Strings. That's the first thing I ever saw in Dolby Cinema. And Alex and I are both AMC A-list members.
And I still remember the first thing was because you convinced me to go see Justice League in Dolby.
It's just, it's one of the best ways to see film.
And I would argue it is the best way.
If I can't get this in Dolby Cinema, I need to see Beastie Boys Story in IMAX. I want that immersive, especially when they're breaking down tracks, especially when they get to Sabotage, because Oh my God. You want to talk about just coming back with a vengeance. That story of what led to sabotage, what led to ill communication, how closely ill communication and check your head related to each other. It just, man, it's so good. And it's a solid 2 hours, and every frame is absolutely worth the time investment. Even if you are a passing Beastie Boys fan, this is a must. And I will get the book. I'm going to get the book and I'm going to read the book because I feel like these could be companions to each other. And I think I'm glad I watched the film before I read the book. This is one of those few times. Alex, you have a confused look on your face.
Oh, I was actually looking up information on Beastie Boys Stories. I have not watched it yet. That's why I don't know if I popped up on air at all when you started talking about it. When you and Heather were discussing, I've popped the monitors out so I didn't hear anything spoilery.
There's no way that I would spoil any of this because you need to see this.
Well, but you also know my hesitation for anything that could even dance near spoilers.
There's also an amazing sequence during the end credits. And
what I was going to say was the Metacritic rating compared to the Rotten Tomatoes rating are usually pretty close. Mm-hmm. They're way apart on this.
Really?
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes is 93%. Metacritic is 74%.
Metacritic's wrong. That's all I can say.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just.
I mean, yeah, and I know that I don't know if your household is subscribing to the Apple TV Plus yet.
We were on it for months now. Okay. Ever since what was the Momoa one?
Oh, Scene is that the name of it?
Yeah, made it 3 episodes in and just went, what the?
Aqua Eskimo Man.
Aqua Eskimo Man. That's a nice way to put it.
I liked it with rename things, just like that movie that Don, what was that movie that Hemsworth was in, and we called it Thordfish.
Thordfish.
He was trying to be a hacker. Michael Mann directed that.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're talking about, but that wasn't Swordfish.
Yeah, I called it Thordfish.
That was Black Hat something.
Yes, okay. You're right. But go, and that's what. If no, there's any excuse to have Heather in my presence, I will always have that excuse. But I really wanted to have her on to talk about this specifically, if nothing else tonight, because the fact that I text her, I'm like, I'm about to fire this up, and she's like, I just did too, which is kind of weird. But did the princesses watch it with you?
They watched a little bit of it. I mean, Addison, and they listen and they recognize, and they're like, oh, this is the Beastie Boys. And they were really happy to see it. Hang on.
And if you go ahead, if you want to put some framework, how old are the girls for people that don't know?
They are 10 and 11.
And they are wonderful, and they are 2 of my other favorite humans that I love spending time with.
Yeah. They're 10 and 11, 5th grade going into 6th, and 4th going into 5th, and they are just...
And they do have an affinity for things that we grew up with, too, which I love.
Well, they have to.
Like being in the car with the younger one. We won't use names if we don't have to. But being in the car with the younger one and singing along with Stuck in the Middle with You was one of my favorite moments from that weekend.
Yeah.
And they're very cultured, and they're very I keep telling you, parenting, you're doing it right.
We're trying.
And not just because I'm biased. So, all right, let's get into some movie talk. What better segue to get from we did a great segue to get from TV to music. Let's do another one from music to movies.
Quick note, I think the Metacritic on Beastie Boys has an error in their accounting because there's one of them that was listed as 5%, but it's, I love the Beastie Boys, I love this movie, and it's like, why so I think they thought it was giving it 5 stars, and it dragged everything down. Just
AMC said they are staying closed until studios release new films. I do not agree with this move. We talked a couple of weeks ago on this show that there were some theaters in China before they got re-shut down where they were reopening, bringing people in for free, but watching older movies like Endgame or the Harry Potter films. To me, this is the right business plan. To wait until they can do a full slate of new releases. They've said publicly they've got enough money to get them through July, and I don't know if that's enough time.
I have a hard time. I understand the idea, and we had discussed it prior about bringing people together in this regard. I still have a huge issue with the idea of anything opening up until we're certain. And I know that that's a selfish statement because I'm not one of the people hurting, humble brag. But at the same time, people are stupid. People are absolutely stupid. Now, I would love to get back to the theater, but here's the problem. I trust the theater itself. I trust the people that clean the theater. I trust that they would make every measure possible. I do not trust some moron who brings 4 kids who all have a fever, sneezing all over everything, drooling in the lobby, and next thing I know, some guy who has eaten a bat connects to me because somebody else who is not as good of a parent as Heather has idiots spreading germs everywhere.
This is why
but
the industry is going to benefit, and this is going to boom. And get ready, America. Drive-in movies are going to be the thing for a while. And I love the drive-in. We've got 2 within shooting distance of this house. Big fan of the Galaxy down in Ennis, who actually has been open. They were actually showing Trolls last weekend, but they were capping at the number of people they were letting in. There's also the Coyote in Fort Worth. We used to have one in Louisville, and that one shut down, which makes me sad. But drive-ins are what's going to keep things afloat for a while. And the Galaxy's even saying they're letting people bring their own food in, so they don't have to go to the concession stand, which I respect. I want to get back to abnormal, like especially movies, man. I miss the theater experience. I miss going to movies with my friends. I just miss humans, and
select humans.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a list. Don't get me wrong, but the times that we can all get together again, I was very, very fortunate that I was able to have Doc over for WrestleMania a few weeks ago. That did my heart a lot of good. Getting to hang out with you a couple of weeks ago, Alex, and heading out to the Rib Crib and picking them up and supporting them, God forbid. Mm-hmm. That was a rough deal for them. And just getting to spend time with humans. My wife is working 10, 11-hour days because she's a payroll analyst. She's trying to make sure people get paid. And I get it, and I love the fur balls. But there's only so much of the fur balls I can take because they just look at me like, you shut up, old man. I'm ready to get back to it. But I also want to be smart, and I want to listen to medical professionals, people that went to school for a decade who are qualified to tell me when I can do things. I had Sonic yesterday, and it was like I was eating Red Lobster in 1983 because it wasn't pizza and it wasn't chicken pieces. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, I'm ready for Hard 8 again. I'm ready for 1050 again. To put those on your list too, Heather, when you come here. Those are barbecue joints.
I'm piggybacking on that.
Yeah, 1050 is where when I go see Alex and we all have lunch where he works. Hopefully where I will be working someday too. 1050 is right by there. It's by the same guy that founded Chili's.
Okay.
And you literally walk up to the pit and you go, I want some of that, and I want some of that, and I want some of that, and then they weigh it. And their pork chops. Okay.
I gotta get the beans.
The Venom sequel. The Venom sequel has a title. It will be called Venom: Let There Be Carnage.
I'm okay with it.
I did not like the first one. I
know you didn't like the first one, but
just Disney, cut the check. Cut the check. Get Spider-Man away from Sony, and let Sony just live on James Bond, and I'm cool with it. Angry. Chris Pine, if you're a fan of him, which I am, I enjoy Chris Pine's work very much. He's going to be the new Saint.
Wait, this is actually happening?
This is happening.
Oh, I'm so happy for this. I
enjoyed the Val Kilmer film very much in the 90s. Elizabeth Shue and her skivvies. How you doing? That's the Saint for me. That was Val Kilmer and the Saint and Elizabeth Shue, who still looks amazing. But he's going to be they're going to do the Saint again. He's going to do it. And nice. I like he's Captain Kirk. So I don't have the third of his Star Trek movies. I got to get that. I have the first two. I don't have the third one.
Well, no, I'm drawing a blank on the fact that there are three.
There was Star Trek Into Darkness, and I can't remember. Don, look up the third one. The last Star Trek movie that came out.
The last Star Trek movie that
The
came
last
out?
one. There were 3. Because it was Star Trek, Into Darkness, something about madness, I thought.
Hold on.
Anyway, well, and this is the interesting crossover. I gave you the note. I didn't know if you wanted to open it up for the casting thought processes on the alleged movies to try and help drive revenue in the other shows.
Oh, on the other show. Yeah, we could talk about that on the other show.
Okay.
The Hunger Games is getting a prequel film.
There was the Insurrection, Nemesis, Into the Darkness, Star Trek 14. Hold on.
Don just went into a remix.
The list.
Look at him chronologically. I need the last one. The Hunger Games prequel film will be called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah, except for, and I don't know, is this a series that you are into, Rob?
Lovely and Talented Mrs. Irvin's a huge fan, and my sister Charlotte is a huge fan. So I've seen the movies by proxy.
But have you seen what this prequel will cover?
I have not. It will be directed by Francis Lawrence, who did Mockingjay, so I know that.
Mm-hmm. So, allegedly, this is a prequel covering a young President Snow.
Okay. Star Trek Beyond.
Star Trek Beyond, yeah, that was the third one.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but it's like, okay, so we're going to go back and see why one of the villains was an immense jerk? I mean,
just give me more Donald Sutherland. I don't need to know a young Donald. I just give me Donald Sutherland because he's amazing. The guy who wrote Bohemian Rhapsody, I don't know if you heard about this week. He is doing the same thing, working with Clive Owen and the estate for Whitney Houston.
I'm sorry, that took a left turn on me. What?
The guy that wrote Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, that's the part I followed.
He's
I
doing
followed all the way up to Clive Owen, and then you said Whitney Houston.
And the estate, and Whitney Houston's estate, they're going to do the Whitney Houston story.
But Clive Owen, I don't think he can pull off being Whitney Houston.
No, he's working with him. I didn't say he was starring in the film. Clive worked with her very closely for a long time.
I don't know this.
Yeah, Clive Owen, all 940 years old of him. Here's my thing. You want the Whitney Houston story? Go watch the documentary called Whitney. And Don will co-sign on this because he and I went to this screening together. That documentary is incredible.
I didn't go to that one with you.
You didn't go to Whitney? I thought you were there.
No, we did Divide and Conquer.
So Don didn't go to Whitney.
But I remember your review.
Where's it
Don't
located?
talk about Bobby Brown and all that. No, I saw it after the fact. I have seen it after the fact.
And is it not excellent?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and Bobby.
I mean,
Brown
it opens the opening of that documentary. They took "I Want to Dance with Somebody" and they isolated her vocal track. There's nothing else there but her vocal track, and it gave me chills. And I'm not the hugest Whitney Houston fan because reasons, but it gave just to hear the power in that woman's voice. That go watch that. I don't know if I need this. Go watch that. Because I don't know that we've been far enough removed from Whitney for this. Because you look at Bohemian Rhapsody, I mean, Freddie's been gone a long time. And I love that movie. Loved that movie.
Yes.
You have to take that movie for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's definitely some timeline messing with in there.
Jumping, yeah.
But from an entertainment standpoint, that the Live Aid sequence alone just... I had to pick my jaw up off the floor. I don't know how I feel about this though. Oh, I'm sorry. It's going to be written by the guy that did Bohemian Rhapsody, but it's going to be directed by Stella Meghe, who did a movie earlier this year called The Photograph. So you got that going for you.
Okay.
And in what could be the most interesting move of the week, and this is going to affect a lot of things, Warner Brothers has lost the Lego franchise.
Oh. But
for 5 years to Universal.
How did they lose it?
Universal wrote a check, and here's the problem.
So they didn't lose it, they sold it.
What are 80% of your Lego movies?
They
Batman,
are DC.
Justice League, DC. Now they do their theatrical releases. Now they've got, They've done Marvel stuff. They did Jurassic World, which was a Universal property. But I'm going to be really interested to see where that goes. And I will say this, not just because my niece is a genius. Lego Masters was a lot of fun. That was a great show. And you know how I feel about Will Arnett. The guy's Batman. But, and then two of the contestants were from this town. They were cosplayers here. Devin knows them very, very well. And I met one of the contestants when I was in Fayetteville. That show was a lot of fun. And it's all on Hulu, so go check it out. I'm fully endorsing Lego Masters. Some of the stuff those people created were just out of control. DVD and Blu-ray new releases and places you get DVD and Blu-ray new releases this week. The Rhythm section, which I am interested in. This is the Blake Lively and her vigilante movie that she did in January.
I know I heard some people mention it and enjoyed it, but I'm not.
I've been intrigued by it. I think it was in theaters for like an hour and a half, and then it was gone.
That sounds about right.
A movie that I just, let me look this up on the IMDb before I do anything, because I want to make sure I get this right. Because first of all, when you do a movie that's called Guns Akimbo.
Oh, yes. This one I'm actually very excited for.
That alone has me interested. A guy relies on his newly acquired gladiator skills to save his ex-girlfriend from kidnappers.
There is one image that you need. You don't even need the title. There is just one image that can sell this entire movie.
Let me just give you three names: Rhys Darby, Samara Weaving, and Daniel Radcliffe. I'm in.
Actually, I really want to pull this image up, if you do not mind me sharing the screen.
Please do.
If you need anything beyond Daniel Radcliffe with guns stapled to his hands, if you need anything beyond this image, I can't help you.
I'm all in.
But the idea is, it's just insane. How do you top that? How do you not already want to see this movie like yesterday?
In tiger footy flippers.
Yes.
Gunnicus. The Assistant also comes out this week. This is an independent film. It's kind of creepy. About a young lady who becomes an administrative assistant, and then darkness happens. The Criterion Collection.
So it's like a normal administrative assistant.
Indeed. The Criterion Collection gets a couple of new releases this week. Me and you and everyone.
Remember the
Punk Show.
That's the other show, Don. That's the other show. Okay. You and me and everyone we know, but also this week a Criterion Collection release, and this was one that Heather will be interested in because she enjoys this director very, very much. The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Ooh.
It's the Criterion Collection. His new film got pushed back, I think, to November. The French something Dark Side. So there's that. Some tech stuff. HBO Max's launch date, May 27th. Is the official date for the HBO Max launch. I'm very much looking forward to this. Because now I can get Cinemax series that I couldn't get before. So like Black Monday, which I've been wanting to see with Paul Scheer, because that's all going to be part of it. Because I'm an AT&T Unlimited customer, I get it for free. So there's going to be a lot of content out there. May 27th, eventually they will be the ones carrying the Friends Unscripted reunion, which now you can bid on being a VIP for when they finally do that, as part of the All-In Challenge, if you're into that. Artists, if you're on Spotify, big announcement this week, you can now fundraise through Spotify for yourself or for charity. It's called the Artist Fundraising Pick. It's similar to Artist Pick, where you can just pick a piece of music to highlight on your profile, but then you can actually do that. You can add a link that goes to any fundraiser that Spotify approves, of course, or their Cash App, GoFundMe, or PayPal accounts. So artists can now make some money from Spotify. Alex, you have your hand up.
Wes Anderson, it is the French Dispatch, expected to be October 16th.
There you go.
That
Thank you,
so
sir.
good.
It's one of those anthology films. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Fans of Fortnite, you can now use Travis Scott as a skin.
Feel free to hit crickets at this point.
chirp chirp.
No, Don, I have the crickets. You don't.
I said hit crickets, not say crickets.
Let's try.
Netflix, apparently since the shutdown, has added nearly 16 million new subscribers. They're going to be okay.
Yeah. I wish I owned stock in Netflix before this all happened. Netflix and Amazon.
You know what? I didn't tell Heather the stat that we said last week on the show.
Which one? Oh,
the one about Tiger King.
Well, wait. Before we even get into the stat, Heather?
Yes.
Have you watched Tiger King?
I have.
And what were your thoughts?
You know, I love a really great dumpster fire, and I just...
That's such a great description.
...stop watching it. And I've even watched the one with Joel McHale, like...
The after show.
The after show thing. I watched that last night, and I still just can't shut my mouth from it because it's just like a train wreck. But I
thought the after show was a waste of time. I love the first 7, but that after show was just like...
There were highlight moments with Joel McHale where he would just say that like one-liner at somebody that you wouldn't know if he would go for.
Yeah.
It was worthwhile. All right, so I wanted to ask that and get that covered. Thank you, Heather. To say, hey, Rob, how's that solo seat feeling?
Feels great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I don't know why you just don't want to enjoy yourself. It's weird.
I enjoy myself quite a bit. I just have no interest to watch this. I watched McMillions, and I loved McMillions, which you did not, and I respect that.
And I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying it wasn't.
You felt it was.
There was nothing that shocked me, really.
You felt I over. Heather, have you watched McMillions yet?
I watched the first episode, and then I stopped to watch Tiger King.
Oh! All right. Heather with the mic drop.
She is allowed to have her opinions. It's one of the things I respect most about her. Mm-hmm. I have no desire to watch this, and I honestly I can't give you an actual reason. I just have no interest in this.
I can give you one other reason you should watch it that we haven't covered. You can finally not cringe and say, please don't be Florida, and it's actually not Florida.
Oh, because I know it's all Oklahoma.
No, it's not all Oklahoma.
Well, it's based out of Oklahoma. But
not all of it.
There's
such a narrow scope.
There's so much overwhelming hashtag because Florida, nothing can fix it at this point. I can't.
But it ties into the wonderful and wild whites of West Virginia. Have you watched that yet?
I have not.
Oh, my God.
The only way I will watch those shows is if Joel McHale brings back the soup and he shows me clips that way.
Yeah. What are you talking about West Virginia that I should see?
The wonderful white trash
whites
of West Virginia. Yeah. That's on Hulu, isn't it?
It's on Prime Video. And Jackass guy is the one that...
Johnny Knoxville?
Okay. I don't have that. I have Netflix, so I just, okay.
Yeah, it's on Prime.
Cut to 30 seconds from now where he asks you for your login.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll give it to you.
Don't do that. Don't do that to Don.
I'm still waiting on you two guys to give me
We've already been told no.
Moving on. Tomorrow there will be an announcement as to the future of the WWE 2K franchise. Oh, the fact, yes.
Yes, the fact about Tiger King for Heather.
As of last Sunday, and I'm sure this has probably gone up at least 20% since then, there have been over 5 million minutes given by people watching Tiger King. 5 billion minutes. And we broke it down, and what was it, like 160 years worth of time has been spent watching that series?
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
It was the exact, or well, not the semi-exact number was 5.3 billion minutes with 34.3 million unique views.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the world I live in. But the future of the WWE 2K franchise, Don with the big
nice Don.
Nice Don.
Really nice. The mute button exists.
No 2K game this year, but the future of the franchise will be announced tomorrow.
Interesting.
Further seeking Vince into Dillygaff.
Yeah.
Anything I'm missing before we wrap this thing up?
No, that's a bit of compendium.
So next week we'll be here. The following week is Money in the Bank. So this show will not be in its natural state. We're we probably want to talk about if we want to do the reverse of what we did for Mania and do this show on Saturday and then do Cheap Pop on Sunday, maybe.
I like that idea.
Because we're not going anywhere anyway. So, Don, what are your thoughts?
I'm good.
Because I really like that we're giving consistent programming. We want to do that for the Empire. So we'll have that official announcement for you next week on the show. Make sure that you are bookmarking our website once we can finally put stuff on it again. It is www.theclubhousepodcast.com. Everything you need to know and some stuff you don't. You can follow us on social media. Twitter is @Clubhouse Show. Everything else is The Clubhouse Podcast. All 3 words in that order, or you will wind up somewhere else. You can follow me on social media if you would like. Everything is Yes That Rob Irvin. That is spelled ERVIN.
I am Vexploit on all social media. Remember to catch our regular shows every Sunday on the Vocal Media Network. And if you'd like to help out with any of the shows, go to prowrestlingtees.com/thecheappopcast.
Buy shirts, buy shirts, buy shirts, buy shirts. Heather, is there anything you want to plug?
No, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
All right, Don?
And on Twitter, I'm at Igbunu. IGBUNUUU.
How does that relate?
My water bottle. And also, you get great swag like this stuff too. Also, you can email me at don@theclubhousepodcast.com.
Email Don for information on how we can come do a live remote show. We love doing live remote shows and hang out with them. By the way, Texas Pinball Festival has been announced for 2021. Very excited for them. That's something else maybe we need to schedule your visit for is during Texas Pinball Festival.
That'll be fun.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns, want to tell me to go pound sand, I am rob@theclubhousepodcast.com. Make sure that you're following all of our social media. Make sure that you're handling Vocal as well. Our normal show every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, is your one-stop shop for all things pop culture. We are so happy that each and every one of you come and hang out with us each and every week. We don't do this without you. We hope to be back in the Vocal studio very, very soon. But until next week, for Heather, for Alex, for Don and the Empire, and for Jen Rome, I'm Rob. Clubhouse is closed. Brittany Palmer celebrating 4 years with her boyfriend this weekend. So congratulations to her.